Okay, let's take a look at how to use the cloud modeler to create your own clouds that you might see used in the 3D designer, right? So something like this here, where I'm using the 3D designer to create an animation, and the clouds that I have enabled is one that I created in the 3D in the particle modeler. So we'll go through that. The idea is to basically have a little bit more options. There are 4 presets for clouds in the 3D designer, and you might want something that looks a little bit more puffy or lighter, or maybe a strata type of a cloud system. All sorts of different options there. You could make your own clouds, and of course you can also have them take shapes like animals, or in this case some letters. And what I wanted to do is just cover how to do that. So let's wait for this animation to be complete and then jump right in. Or no, you know what, let's just cancel this. We don't really need this. This is just for demonstration. I'm going to leave the timeline editor, and we can see what we basically were working on here. It's not completely done yet, but what we want to do is get this kind of cloud system, our own cloud system, into 3D designer. All right, so let's go store this. We never know if we need this again, and load the original height map back in there. And actually it doesn't matter. This is not going to be used by the cloud system we are about to create. What we do want to understand is where we'll put it in the end, right? So when we go to transform 3D designer, ultimately here, right, this is the minimal initial view. Go click more to see more options, and in the upper right you have the cloud system, and normally you have just 4 options here. There's one more I added, and we'll create another one now that will be, maybe instead of up, it will be down or sideways or whatever. So okay, let's get busy with that. Let's just clear the background here. We don't need to see this scene initially. In fact, we don't need an animation either, so we can free the animation. Although when we jump into the particle modeler here from animated particle modeler, normally the particle modeler, or quite often it is used with an animation. So it will ask us if you want to create a new animation, most likely. So I'm going to go clear this and see if I can get back to a pretty much a clear session with nothing initially loaded. Not sure if it's actually possible, but let's just go in, and we'll close the animation, the scrub bar. Let's go to here, animated particle modeler. All right, so it still remembers this view, but it doesn't have this model in there. Again, I saved it earlier, so I could go here and open it. And in fact, I saved it in the folder where the clouds are that came with the 3D designer. All right, so here's the file. I'm not going to load it this time. Instead, I'm going to create something new. Oh, it still had that in there. Oh, anyway, let's go and clear this and create a new one. So let's say we add a sphere and make it ready for rendering, or actually something that we can easily recognize. And then that also begs the question: do we paint it here or do we paint it here? Right. So if we paint it here, will it be what we see initially, or if we paint it here, will it be sideways, or will it be, on are we going to see it from the side rather than head on from the front? So that's something you just are going to want to experiment with. I think it's this view here we'll want to use. So how about we just put PD as in Project Dog Waffle or Howler. Let's do airbrush a little bit smaller, and see if we can do a single stroke for Howler. Howler. There. All right. So we have this. Let's go and render that. And here we are. Now we may want to play with those the lighting options a little bit. There are quite a bit of options here, actually. You can make it quite a high contrast. You see there's options here for selecting the light, selecting the other light. There's 2 light sources, and so that's indicating which one is being moved. If you select, by default it's the cloud itself, so if you move, it's rotating the cloud, but if you select the light, it's now positioning the light, one light or the other, right? Select light 2. Now both of them could be coming from the same direction, or you could have them one above, one below. Let's do this. right? Something like that. All right, and then the cloud can be inspected from different angles, and you can also still change the brightness and some other, like its own ambient light, and then the self-shadowing. So there's a variety of parameters here that you can fiddle with. If you like this cloud, what I would do at that point is to save it, right? And when you save it, you want to find your path to where it's installed. Typically on your Windows C drive, unless you installed it somewhere else, it'll be in Program Files, x86. It's still a 32-bit program. Go to Howler. Typically, you might have an older version. Maybe it's under Project Dogwaffle Professional or PD Pro or PD Howler. Or you gave it a different name during installation. So find where you have it, and then there should be a folder called Clouds, a subfolder, right? So this is typically what you might see with a number of subfolders, and one of them is Clouds. Go in there, and that's where I had saved the up, and now I'm going to say Howler. So what type of file is it? It's a cloud, so we call it a CLD. Right? So you can see here the CLD files. All right, so what you have here is saved, and you could spend a lot of time now just in the particle modeler itself to animate that, to render it in a variety of different ways, and that's possibly of interest too, right? So there's all sorts of other things you can do in the particle modeler, but we haven't created a lengthy animation to hold it, so it's not going to be of interest. All we wanted is to save that Howler cloud so we can get it into our 3D designer. So now I'm going to load the terrain, and I want to have my cloud system here. So let's go back to, there's two places where the 3D designer lives. One is transform, typically if you want a single view, although you can also animate it there. We'll go there, but just to complete my prior sentence, there's also the timeline editor, where you can go 3 times down here on the scroll bar, 1, 2, 3, and that puts you into the transform category, and in here you'll see the 3D designer as well. So that one has some extra keyframing of the position and orientation of the whole terrain. It doesn't keyframe any other parameters. So for instance, the cloud height or size or other parameters that you see here, that would be nice at times if you could, but it's not. So here's Howler, here's the new cloud. And there it is. So if we rotate, if we change the pitch, we can see it is standing upright. So this is the orientation I was kind of hoping for. You don't have a whole lot of other options there. I mean, you can position it, you can change some of its brightness and ambient as well. But the ambient light is deducted from the background color. So if the background color is black, it's not going to do much here. We probably are going to want to change that to a whitish or light blue, something like that. And then so now at this time you see the ambient color has indeed a bit more of impact. There's still also the brightness itself, there's a self-occlusion, and there you go. So that's how you get your own clouds into 3D Designer. Now in this case I may have a lot more to do with it. Maybe I want to have it at an angle, pitch it a little bit, even rotate it, yank it this way, have it upside down. There's a variety of playful things we can do with that here. Certainly also add some erosion. There you go. Maybe scale the terrain up a little bit more. Work on the fog. Right, here's the perspective view, which affects the fog, or which can also have, let's see, if we enable the ground fog as well, we have a little bit of fog on the ground. Let's do some terrain texture. So we have elevation dependent coloring, elevation and slope dependent. So we see some flat tops here, maybe a little bit brighter. Let's give it the maximum white, and then also more ambient light here from the top. I know it's kind of strange to say ambient light and say from the top. We actually have 2 light sources. One of them here also has a ray tracing shadows that are ray traced. That's something you can see here as you rotate it around. Maybe a little bit more distance and altitude as you bring it down, it's going to cast those shadows differently. Let's bring it down low and then rotate it far away. There. I think that will give us a little bit more of a shadowy look, especially if we don't overload the brightness on the other light source from the top. Anyway, so that's a 3D designer and the cloud system. And so if you need to have your own clouds, that's how you can put them in. All right, thanks for watching. We'll catch up with some other tricks with the particle modeler pretty soon.